Hey everybody, I'm back here in my office tonight. I decided to be down here because I didn't get back here in time to put the stuff in the sanctuary back together, so I'm back here in my office. So, how in the heck is everybody tonight? Everybody have a good day? Everybody get in the comments. Tell me how your day was. I want to know what you were up to. All right, get all my stuff hooked up here. How is everybody tonight? Everybody doing good? Who all we got here? Well, of course, Amy is our first comment of the night. Congratulations on that. Happy Sunday. Hi, Daryl and Sherry. Stay tuned this week, Amy. There's going to be some news about possibly coming back to church, so hang in there. My man Scott Moran went past DQ, lined up around the building to the street, all getting animal cracker blizzards. Yes, actually, Dairy Queen now has it where you can just pull up to the drive-thru and say, "Give me the Pastor Tim," and they'll make you a animal cracker blizzard. So, you guys welcome for that. Tim and Candy in the house. Hi, Doug and Margie. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Jess. It was good to see you guys today. Candy says 2/3 of the Fenway Corn Block Party is here. All right. Hi, Mike and Tina. It was good to see you guys in your lawn chairs today. Hi, Linda Horn. It was a beautiful day. I got to be outside. My mom's birthday is today. And we went over, had a birthday party with her, and I got to have some ice cream cake. So not quite an animal cracker blizzard, but pretty good. So, hi, Dave and Amy Jessen. What else we got here? Amy Hogshead. Yeah. Hi, Teresa. Hey, Suze. Joe and Marsha. Man, Marsha is just destroying these YouTube comments. I'm loving it. So, all right. Very good. Jan, was a beautiful day. Hope you enjoyed it, Jan. Thanks for this morning. I appreciate what you had to say. Thank you. That touched my heart today. Thank you for that. Joyce Koenig is in the house, therefore the party can get started. And Amy beat me to that, so I see. All right. Yes. I want everybody in the comments, including Mike and Tina, to know that I gave the Milky Ways to Susan. So I know there was some question about whether or not I would follow through on that. Well, I did. And it was witnessed by Mike and Tina Bird, regardless of what they want to say. So, yep. All right. Good evening. Everybody had a good day. Good. Helped Rick and Michelle unload a trailer of split wood. That's a fun day. All right. Your idea of fun day and mine are not the same, but that's cool. Hey, Kevin. Appreciate you coming out tonight. Hi, Jack and Cheryl. And hi, Cheryl Cuck. Appreciate you being here. Mike and Tina Bird are not telling the truth about this We Saw Nothing stuff. I'm calling them out because that's what we do around here. And I just want you to know that. So, March Tangeman, it was a beautiful day today. And gosh, it was just nice outside about all day. My nephew Jake, who is 5 years old, and he's like 6 foot tall and weighs 235 pounds. He was over, and I was throwing him around a little bit. So he has a mechanical little go machine he drives around, and he was driving that thing all over the place. He's a pretty good little driver for 5 years old, but he's a big kid. So. Hey, Linda Burkholder, after 2 attempts to get you a book, I'm giving up. I tried. I'm sorry. So I am 0 for 2. And so, hey, Val Cisco, it was good to see you today, too. And Teresa says, Rick agrees with me that loading and unloading wood is no fun. Yeah, that was a really easy one to come by. So, all right, cool. We will be back in for tomorrow night. Well, let's do that, Joyce. Joyce, why don't you, or Suze, why don't you get in the comments and tell the truth about the Milky Way candy bar? Suze, come on now. Suze, you better be writing a comment right now. That's what I'm telling you about this Milky Way candy bar that has become quite the controversy. So, Yes, it was super, man. It was super cool to be able to introduce Linda and Teresa today. They were parked in cars next to each other. That was super cool. You guys didn't. I mean, you knew each other yet didn't, and that was super cool. So, would everybody please note Susan's comment right now that she already ate one of them and she has the other one in her possession. So I don't want there to be any Milky Way controversies going on around here. So. Yeah. Hey, Bill and Crystal, glad you guys are here, and it was good to see you today, and everybody's excited. So, for one of these live streams, probably tomorrow night, we will be back in the sanctuary. I need to experiment on you poor folks again. We have a theory for what we want to do something special on Sunday, and about possibly having an indoor portion in the sanctuary portion of the first light service. But before we decide we're going to do that, I need to have an experiment, and I need you guys' help. So probably tomorrow night, we'll be back down in the sanctuary, and I will be trying a new experiment on you guys tomorrow night. So everybody come with your ears ready to listen, and just for a few minutes at the beginning of the live stream, because I have to. Yeah, I need to use you guys guinea pigs. Thanks, Sherry. And oh, hey, Ange, glad you're here. And I just need to know if this idea is going to work. And tomorrow night, you guys are going to help me try that. So that will be something for to look forward to tomorrow night. Okay. How's the stream, everybody? Is it choppy? Is it pretty good tonight? I know we had some trouble down here in the office. How's the sound? How's everything compared to what it was down in the sanctuary? Yeah. Well, you should feel like guinea pigs, Tina and Mike. You guys are here to help me out. So, okay, so the connection is good tonight. Excellent. All right. As you can see here, I had to plug my tablet in. So, all right, good. Well, usually if it starts out good, good Lord willing, it'll stay good tonight. So, all right. Well, tonight we are going to jump into a new chapter. We are on now to chapter 7. Chapter 7 being about when you believe in God but don't think you can change. If you have ever heard the expression "a self-fulfilling prophecy," that is what that title is. Because chances are, if you don't think you can change, you're probably right. And if you're going to change, the first thing you're going to have to make an adjustment on is the attitude, and that tends to be where that needs to start. So, all right, I'm going to open. I was going to not do this, and now I am. So here we go. How many of you? And I'm not going to ask you what it is, so don't be afraid. But how many of you have something in your life that you'd like to see change? Something about yourself that you would like to change. And any of you who read the chapter, he gave a boatload of examples of things. But I don't know that you need examples. How many of you got things happening, things going on in your life? Could be. I mean, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to influence your thought. But how many of you got something in your life that you'd like to see change? Because if you do, for the next 2 nights while we're working on this chapter, I want that to be bouncing around in your head. I want the conversation that we have to center around whatever that is for you. Again, I'm not going to ask you what it is. I'm not going to out anybody like that. But I want to put forth. I want you to put forth some effort in. Yeah. Okay. So we got a lot of yeses going on here. So whatever that is, and again, I will not ask you what that is, so don't be afraid of that. I want you to think about that while we're having these conversations. Because what we're going to do, and the way Craig structured this chapter, was actually a good idea. What he's doing is he's basically throwing himself under the bus. He's going to use his own example. And as we have said many, many times in here in the course of this study, we tend to be able to see other people's lies that they have embraced in their own life we tend to be able to see those easier than we see them in ourselves. So we're going to go through and we're going to shoot down, because that's what Craig's doing here, is he's giving us his example to absolutely shoot down. So we're going to go through and shoot this down, and that's fine. And we can just absolutely annihilate what he's doing here. But as we're doing that, I want you thinking about your thing, whatever that is. So as we're going, well, Craig's obviously, he's got an incorrect thing going on here, and he's obviously got this lie that's kind of screwed him up and all this stuff. Okay. And you're probably right. That's probably true. And that's why Craig put it out there. But I don't want this chapter to be about Craig. I want this chapter to be about you. And so as you're thinking about those areas in life that you want to change and those kind of ingrained things, that's what I want you to focus around. Okay. And that's what I would like for you to be thinking about. So, all right. Now, I'm not a person. I talk a big game and stuff. I'm not really a person to get very bent out of shape about things. I got a few things in life that bother me, as we all do, but for the most part, I'm pretty even keel. I'm not an angry person. I'm not a get excited about things kind of person. That's not how it is. But I do have one pet peeve that I don't like when people do, and the reason I don't like it when people do this is because there are so many bad experiences and so much poor behavior around this practice that people have, that whenever I hear it, it's just like, just get punched in the face, because it just annoys me to death. So, all right, we're going to put this to another true or false question, all right? Because y'all like those true or false questions. It is Pastor Tim's complete and utter opinion that the phrase I am about to read to you is the most annoying phrase in the English language. There is no other phrase in the English language more annoying than this one. Okay? That's the true or false question I put into you, okay? The phrase that I am referring to is the first, first 7 words of this chapter, which read, "This is just the way I am." True or false? That is the most annoying phrase in the English language. It's just the way I am. That's just who I am. True or false? The most annoying phrase in the English language is, "That's just how I am." True or false? All right, Val, I'm assuming yes means true. And why is it annoying? The reason that it's annoying is very, very simple. It's annoying because basically that's a declaration that is now your privilege to put up with whatever I want to do. That is, by definition, annoying. It is annoying. Please, for the love of God, don't ever say that sentence. Unless you're meaning it with sarcasm, or you're trying to be funny or trying to be cute or something, never, ever, ever say that sentence. Because the idea is that just excuses things. No, it don't. Nope. No, it don't. That doesn't excuse anything. All that does is enable the most ridiculously poor behavior available to human beings. Don't say that phrase. Because again, the perception is that excuses things. Makes things okay. It don't. So as we're going through this, and you're thinking about the thing that we just talked about, that thing in your life that you'd like to see change, and we're considering that, and we're talking about it and whatever else, you're going to be tempted to say, well, that thing, that probably shouldn't do that, but that's just how I am. Buzz. That's an incorrect answer. So don't think you're going to get away with that. And that's, I'm sure, why Craig opens the chapter with that, because especially pastors have been told this by people who engage in some of the most self-destructive, community-destroying behavior that you can possibly imagine. You want to talk about just a corrosive person. All you got to do is think. All you got to do is think that you get to put up with me because that's just the way I am. No. Tim Dickey also dislikes "It Is What It Is also annoying. Tim Dickey, I will definitely give that one probably a top 5. That's a top 5. That's up there. It's not quite as high as this one, but I'll definitely go top 5 on that one. That's right up there with the ice cream melted. No, never say that. I don't ever give up on ice cream like that. So I think you all got me, and I'm off on the ice cream thing already. It didn't take long. So, all right. So let's see here. He's talking about early in his career when he was a young pastor and he was newly ordained. He was 26, which I also was newly ordained at, how old was I? See, I graduated from seminary. I was 20. Yeah, I was about 26. No, I was older than that because we had to go 4 years of college, 3 years of seminary, and 3 years of probation. So we had to go 10 years before we could get ordained. So I was probably I was about 28 or 29 when I finally got ordained, just because that's how the Methodist Church did it in those days. But I remember being the young guy and trying to prove yourself, and back in those days, and they've kind of gotten away with that with the younger ministry candidates. But back in those days, what they would do is they would, you were fighting your way through the ordination process, which was just awful. It was the most god awful mess. It was so screwed up. And at the time I was going through, they were in the process of changing it, which basically means nobody had any clue what was going on. So you would go before these boards, and they were just like these old hammer guys, man. They were bad, and they wouldn't know what they're supposed to do. So I'd have to go explain it to them. And then once I explained it to them, then they'd hammer me on it. I'm like, guys, I'm the one that told you this. The whole thing was dumb. But fighting your way through there, I understand what it is because you're young and you're idealistic. Because now I'm just an old crotchety guy. But back in those days, I was young and optimistic and idealistic and butterflies and roses and all that stuff. Where now I'm just like this cantankerous old man that just makes people deal with me because that's how I am. Sorry. But that's it. That's how it was back in those days. You're young and idealistic, and you're going to change the world and all this stuff. So I get where he's coming from. I used to be there, and I used to, feel that way, and you're going to make a difference and all this stuff. I used to have those kind of aspirations and feelings, and I can remember people getting on me for being a workaholic. I mean, I was. My back when I used to be married, my wife used to call herself my mistress because I was really married to my job, which was absolutely the truth. And imagine we got divorced. Yeah, big surprise there, right? And so we, so all this stuff. So one of the things that he did is he was forced to go into counseling. I've been forced into counseling a couple times in my career over things that have happened. Okay, that's not necessarily true. I've been forced in a couple times. A couple other times I put myself in counseling just because ministry is really hard. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about, which same as any job. But the difference between clergy and most other people is most people don't live where they work, meaning my life and my job are so close together that there's really no separation. And it's, where all you have friends where you can go complain about your job. If I ever had something to complain about in my job, who would I go to? Because I wouldn't go to any of you because you would be like, oh gosh, man, Pastor Tim's kind of a jerk or something. But so it's hard to do. And so he was in a situation like that where he was with some mentors, and they were identifying this kind of workaholism he had going on. So they put him in counseling. And so the counselor went through the session with him and was talking to him about, stuff and kind of trying to help him identify this workaholic problem. And basically Craig was going with the tried and true one. That's just how I am. Ministry is important, and building churches is important, and I'm building God's kingdom, and I'm changing the world, and I'm saving souls, and I'm, everybody loves me, and I love working 117 hours a week, and That's what everybody was. That's basically what he was telling himself. And so the longer he talked, and this is what happens when we deal with one of these battle tested counselors or people who do people who do that, sit in my chair and been doing it for a long time, and you talk to them and they've seen it all, heard it all from everybody, and you think you're going to come in there and be smarter than them, and they quickly show you that you're not. And that's exactly what this counselor did to Craig. He sat there and handed Craig a shovel, and he just had a great old time digging until he closed the lid on him by saying, "So apparently God's not big enough to help you with this problem, huh? God's not big enough to change you." And then you're just like, oh, and because now you have painted yourself in a corner you're not going to get out of. And that's exactly what this counselor allowed Craig to do. It's a very, very effective counseling technique, is to allow somebody to just kind of spew it all out there, and then you turn it on them so that they can't get out of what they've said. The counselor had him. Craig even said that. I'm on page 126, right above where he says identifying the lie. Craig even admitted the guy had me. He had me dead to rights, and he knew it. Now, he wasn't ready to change at that point. He wasn't ready to make some better choices, but he fully admitted, guy had me. And if you're going to deal with a counselor or somebody that you want to talk to professionally like that, and you think you're going to pull the wool over on them, forget it. People who do counseling for a living and meet with people on a regular basis can literally taste lies. We can taste them. When people come in here and start telling me something. Early in my career, I when I thought I knew everything and I didn't, but these days, I can taste it when people lie to me. So, Joyce says, I think members of all congregations forget that pastors are human. Yeah, we're not human. We're cyborgs. And we don't have feelings, and we can live on $5 a week and all this stuff. Yeah, that's it's pretty standard fare. But in that, that's kind of how it goes. So this counselor allowed Craig to dig a nice deep hole, and that he couldn't get out of. So Craig knew he had him. Now he didn't. He, by his own admission here, doesn't change, but the counselor definitely had him, and that's what you want to watch out for. So, what the counselor did is he helped Craig take an important first step. Now it took him, from the way it sounds, years to come full circle. But the counselor definitely helped him identify what the problem was, identify that there was a problem. Because prior to this conversation, I'm pretty sure that Craig was, problem here. I'm building God's kingdom and it's wonderful. So he wasn't even ready to say there was a problem. The counselor at least got him that far. And, kudos to the counselor for doing that for a young kid like that. Okay, so let's move on into the next section. Because, look, and that's why I asked all of you to tell me if you had something in your life you wanted to change, because the answer is all 32 of you logged in right now do. That's not a late breaking news story. That's just kind of how this works. So if you got something that you want to change, then you've already taken this first step. If you didn't say you had anything you want to change, or maybe you're sitting there going, I don't know if this chapter applies to me. All that means is you haven't identified it yet. And hopefully throughout the course of this conversation, the next 2 nights, we'll get you there. Now, moving on into the next section where he talks about identifying the lie. He says, many Christian atheists live year after year under the illusion we simply can't change. Illusion. Somebody jump in the comments and tell me about the illusion. What is the illusion that we can't change? Because that's an illusion a lot of people live under. That is a mirage that a lot of people get fooled by. What is the illusion that we can't change? Where does that come from? Where do we get it? Why does it exist? Somebody jump in the comments and tell me about illusion. Where does the illusion that we can't change? And that's just how we are. Because that's something I hear a lot of people say. Where does that come from? All right, Teresa, going right for the jugular on that one. That's exactly right. That's a lie coming from Satan, one of his favorite ones. We have to make it admission we don't want to make, Cheryl. I think that is absolutely the truth. Yep. Nobody likes to and this is why I didn't ask you to name what it was, because that's a little too personal for something as public as this forum. Denial, Val. That's right. If I can pretend it's not there, and Amy also got denial. If I can pretend it's not there, then maybe it really isn't there. It's kind of like, back from my generation, the old Jurassic Park movie. The T-Rex can't see you if you don't move. Well, sometimes we think, the problem isn't really there if I don't identify it. And that works exactly 0% of the time. Tina and Mike, past failures at trying to change. Yeah, I mean, look, if we've not been successful at it once before, I mean, why would we want to subject ourselves trying it again? Angie says false idea. I agree with that. It is a false belief. It's a lie that comes from Satan. I think Angie and Teresa are kind of in the same place there, and it's just so much easier just to deny it exists, because denial again is something that always works. Sue says it's an excuse because it takes work to change it. Yeah, who wants to do all that work? Who wants to do all that soul searching, life purging, bitterness spilling, anger inducing? Who wants to do all that, man? That's a lot of work. Who wants to be a part of that? Scott says it's Satan's lie. God's not capable of changing us. And that, I mean, look, for a God that could say, let there be light, and the lights come on for the first time on earth, for that God to have something that he can't change. I mean, can we just take a moment and appreciate how ridiculous that idea even is? God changed the world from darkness to light by saying light. To say that a God that can do that can't change you. Let's just take a moment and just appreciate the sheer ridiculousness of that lie. Val says we got to name it and step out of denial. That's right. And again, that's what I was talking about with Craig. He had to at least not accept. That's not the word I'm looking for. At least to admit there was a problem. I don't know if admit's even the right word. Realize, I guess, is maybe what I'm looking for. He had to realize there's a problem. Realize something's going on. Okay, yeah, Cheryl. I guess you and I are in the same place here. Cheryl says we not realize the actual problem, and that's right, and that's why identifying it can help. It's just like something's going on, something's wrong, something's not what it should be. To pretend it's not there doesn't lead any place good. And sometimes identifying a problem is a big thing. One of the most effective moments in any kind of counseling situation, if you're going to talk to a counselor, again, could be a pastor, it could be an actual counselor. The best thing a counselor can do is give you the experience of saying, I never thought of it that way before. That's what we call a breakthrough. That's when you're getting somewhere. When you have the experience of, I never thought of that, or I never looked at it that way, or going, gosh, I just never saw it that way. That's when you start making progress. That sentiment, that sentence is a sign you're making progress, because suddenly you're seeing something in a new light. Now it may be a better light, maybe something you thought was a problem that actually wasn't, or it could be something that actually has been a problem for a long time that you, not even in denial about it, you just didn't even see it. You weren't even aware that it was going on. And that's, that's a big thing. It's the first step in CR, Val, because if you don't take that step, you can't take any of the rest of them. Exactly. Tim Dickey says, God certainly has the power to change us, but we don't have free, so it's still up to us. God certainly has the power to change us, but don't we have free will? I think you left the word out there. Don't we have free will? So it's still up to us. Let me think of an example. All right, right here. I have this piece of paper that has some very fine print that I'm holding back this far so you intentionally can't read it, okay? This ticket right here that I'm holding in my hand is a coupon for, you guessed it, a free Frosted Animal Cracker Blizzard from Dairy Queen, okay? This is the ticket.
If I hand this ticket to you, I'm going to give it to you just like this. See me handing it to you? And you're going to take this ticket. What does this ticket do until you use it in the way it's designed? If you never take this ticket for this free Frosted Animal Cracker Blizzard from Dairy Queen, and you never take it to Dairy Queen, this is nothing. This ticket is nothing. Okay, you might as well throw it away because it's irrelevant until you do with it what it's supposed to do. I say God's ability to change you is the same way. Until you use it in the way it was designed, meaning use it at all or allow it to happen, you're right. We can turn it down. Can God do it? Yes. Will God do it? That's the question that's up to us. And it's not about controlling God because he's handing us the ticket. He's giving us the ticket. Here you go. There's the ticket. Take it. Take the ticket. Take the ticket. But if we don't use this pass for its intended purpose, what does it do? That's how God works. He's got this ticket in your face just like this that he's continuing to hand to you. But until you take the ticket and do something with it, this ticket's a useless piece of paper. So that's how that works. God's ability is like the ticket. Until you redeem the ticket, it doesn't do anything. All right, 12 steps, amazing transformation with God. Yes, 12 steps are amazing, and it's worked for a gazillion people in the world, and it's one of the greatest blessings we've ever come up with. So, all right, so that's the discussion on illusion. If you're going to change anything from overeating to difficulty in relationships to addictions of any kind, meaning addictions to food, addictions to sex, addiction to material wealth, addiction to buying things, addictions come in just any form. An addiction, and I'll tell you what an addiction is. An addiction is a coping skill run haywire. That's what an addiction results in. You're trying to cope with something that's not doing it, and that's what destroys you. So a coping skill is an addiction is a coping skill run haywire. If you're having a bad day, so you go home and pick up your spouse and you go out and have one Frosted Animal Cracker Blizzard from Dairy Queen, and you kind of sit there and you talk a little bit and you feel better, that's fine. But if you go and it's spiraling out of control because you had a bad day, and instead of going to Dairy Queen, you actually go to Kroger and buy 7 gallons of Ben & Jerry's ice cream and go home and eat the whole thing, that's an addiction, and that's bad. That's the difference. Most things in moderation is okay. Not everything. There's no such thing as just a little bit of pornography is fine. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But most things that can become an addiction in moderation are okay until we get to addictive behavior, which is, again, a coping skill run haywire. And it's trying to fill the God space in your life, Val. That's exactly right. And unfortunately, the God space in your life is shaped only like God. He's the only thing that will fit. So, that's exactly what an addiction is. It's an attempt to find something else to be God. It's an attempt to find something else to cope with a bad situation. That is absolutely, it's making the problem worse, or either that or creating its own problem. And you don't want that. So, all right. Okay, so speaking of coping skills, let's go on to the very next sentence. Once we've forgiven ourselves for past mistakes, does everybody hear the implication of that sentence? The implication is we have forgiven ourselves for past mistakes. If you want to change, first thing you got to realize is something's wrong. Second thing you got to realize is we can't change what we can't change. Gosh, we sure wish we would. But that ain't how this works. And that ain't just a big step. That's a hop, leap, and a jump there, Cheryl. That's a big one. Because we got to leave the past in the past. Hang on to the lessons. Don't have to learn the lesson again. Go say you're sorry to everybody who needs the apology and sincerely mean it. Offer forgiveness to people because that's all about you, not about them. Okay, do all those things. And then you got to look in the mirror at this guy that I'm looking at right here. And you got to forgive that person too. Once you identify the problem, you've got to put the past in the past. It's got to go behind you and stay behind you. And when Satan comes pulling on your shirt sleeve and go, oh, here's this regret. You must have dropped this. You should really take this back. If it's a ticket for a Frosted Animal Cracker Blizzard from Dairy Queen, you go ahead and take that thing. If this is the shame that you really ought to be feeling for how bad you are, no, go ahead and throw that away. Go ahead and drop that one, because that's not going to help you. Shame is never good. That's my profound statement for the night, right there. That's as deep as we're going to get right there. Shame is never good. It's not a motivator. It's not an encourager. It's not anything. So that's two shame lessons there. First shame lesson is shame never helps you. Obvious. Second shame lesson is never, ever, ever shame someone else. It doesn't help. Okay, so never, especially for God's sake, don't shame your children if you can help it. Now, if they end up feeling ashamed themselves, that's them. But as parents, never, ever put shame on your children. I've seen parents do that, and I just wanted to sock them in the mouth, because that's just not, I don't care if what they're doing is bad. Shame is not the way to go. Punish them, yes. Get them back on the path, yes. Whatever that means, but don't shame them. That's not it. Forgiveness makes amends, healing to move forward and grow where God wants you. Yes, forgiveness of self. Forgiveness of others simply lets the bitterness drain off of you and helps keep your anger cup empty. But forgiveness of yourself keeps your shame cup empty, which you don't want anything in that cup either. So be careful. Bitterness and shame, man, are two things that can absolutely wreck your life. You don't want either one of them. Bitterness is something we feel about other people, and shame is something we feel about ourselves. And if you're going to make a change in your life, both them things got to go. Go, 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 go. Because you can't carry them into a transformed life. And God made great arrangements to not make you have to do that, to make sure you don't have to do that. So if you do it, it's on. I'm going to point right at you. See where my big finger is? It's right on you. I'm kind of enjoying the camera here tonight. Woo. All right. It's on you. Don't. God went to great lengths. You want to know how great it is? Read the last 4 pages of any one of the 4 Gospels, and you'll find out how great a lengths God went to relieve you of this. And if you're still carrying it, that's on you. What about guilt? Yeah, guilt is a little different. Guilt is guilt and shame, while very closely related, I don't think are the same thing. Shame is when we kind of internalize a horrible feeling toward ourselves. Guilt is when we internalize a horrible feelings about something we've done to somebody else. And where shame is normally something, again, this is my opinion, jump in the comments and disagree with me if you want. But to me, shame is something that I sit here and I feel about myself, and I feel bad, and woe is me, and I can't ever show my face in public again or whatever. That's shame. Guilt is when you are continually trying to make up something you did to somebody else. And they may be feeding into that by instilling shame in you. They could be using that shame to control you, because they shame you and you respond with guilt by trying to make up to them what you think you did. Guilt can lead to shame, but normally shame produces guilt. Okay, Cheryl. I mean, obviously, it's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? That's our question here. But to me, shame comes first. Response then is in guilt. And normally guilt comes around, I have wronged somebody. And maybe you legitimately have. I'm not trying to take that away. But then that guilt can continue to control your actions, where you're continually trying to make up to the other person what you did or perceive that you did. And if the other person wants to be controlling over you, all they're going to do is continue to put you in situations where you feel more and more shame. Because the more shame you feel, the more guilt you act upon. And there are some people who love that. Man, they really kind of get off on that. And they just really think that's awesome, to be able to control your life by producing guilt out of you, by shaming you. That makes sense? Somebody tell me if you're following me. Does my explanation of guilt and shame, does that work for you? You with me? What do we do with guilt? My thought is, as we deal healthily, I don't know if that's a word, but I'm making it a word. As we deal healthily with shame, guilt will become less of an issue. Now, there are some times that a little bit of guilt, may or may not be a good thing. If you do something wrong, you should feel bad about it, especially if you hurt somebody. But at the same time, you can't live your life that way. As soon as any of that guilt starts to feed into shame, that's when we have crossed the line. That's when things become a problem. So guilt and shame definitely are very, very closely related concepts. I'll definitely give you that. But I think they're a little bit different in how they function. Where shame generally draws you in, guilt normally takes you out so you can make restitution for what you've done. Neither one of those are always healthy. Sometimes a little guilt may be healthy, but if it starts to produce shame, we have crossed the line. Especially if you want to make a positive change in your life. All right. Thank you, Jan. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go on to page 126. Turn over to page 126. On page 126, I'm in the paragraph that starts with, many believe a common lie. That's the paragraph I'm in on page 126. Many believe a common lie. It's the next sentence after that I want to make something of. And the sentence reads like this. A lie believed as truth will affect you as if it were true. A lie believed as truth will affect you as if it were true. A lie believed as truth will affect you as if it's true. Now, I think that is a very well-written sentence. Okay? The reason I think it's well-written is because it doesn't say the lie becomes true if you believe it. That is not what it says. It only speaks to the effect of the lie. So the lie that you believe will affect you as if it's true. It won't become true, but it will manifest in your life as if it is. And what that results in, and y'all have seen this before, is somebody will do something and you're like, what is going on here? Because somebody is acting out a lie, but they are responding as if it's true. This often happens when somebody says something and another person has kind of a overly heavy response. They'll say something like, they'll say something and somebody will kind of snap at them a little bit. And then the person now believes the lie that, well, this person hates me. And they begin to respond accordingly. Now, that could have absolutely nothing to do with why that person snapped at them. But if they believe that is true, then they will respond as if it's true. And now suddenly you got two people who hate each other. They don't even know why. You've seen that before. You've seen that manifest itself before. And lies can take a lot of forms. And any lie in your life, a lie about yourself, a lie about your self-esteem, a lie about your self-image, a lie about your significant relationships, a lie about your work situation or social situation or church situation, any lie that you accept as true will affect you as if it's true. I think I marked that sentence just because I think it's very well written. Because I've seen that come along. People will believe some of the wildest things, and based on those wild things, will live out that truth. And normally the people around them who see the lie for what it is, or maybe aren't even aware of the lie existing, will be like, what is that about? What is going on? And so that's why these lies that we get told so often, especially lies about transforming ourselves, we have to be very, very careful with. Because if we're not, we will behave as if we can't change because that's a lie we've embraced. I'm always going to be this way. I'm always going to be afraid. I'm always going to be out of shape. I'm always going to be overweight. I'm always going to be behind. I'm always going to be dumb or whatever. Every single one of those is a lie. But if we believe the lie, we will make the lie's effect to be true. The phrase that comes to mind here is self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, you guys have all heard the concept of a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's exactly what this is. You say something and then you make it true. And normally that's a bad thing. Now, sometimes making a declaration of a good thing and then following through and making it happen, that can be a very good thing, but that's not what we're talking about here. This is if you believe something that's incorrect, that is negative, you will live as though it's true. And it will affect you as though it's true. And all that's bad. So, all right. And sometimes he goes into a discussion here, and I know all of you are familiar with this. The idea of an invisible fence for your dog. The dog wears a collar, and it will buzz at them if they get close to the edge of the properties to kind of teach the dog where the dog belongs, so the dog won't leave. We've all, we've all been there. We've all seen that at different times. So we know the concept. And eventually, the dog no longer needs the collar anymore, because the dog knows where to go. And what that means is now it's an invisible barrier. The dog knows not to go beyond a certain point because that's what it's been trained to do. And that's a good thing. Keeping your dog in your yard is obviously a very good thing. Here's the difference. Lies do the same thing to us. If the devil can establish a lie in us to set up a perimeter, and one of these perimeters is drawn so that positive change is here, but we're boxed up here, we won't go toward it because we have learned where the perimeter is. Unfortunately, the perimeter is not true. Whether it be shame that says we don't deserve that, whether it be guilt that says no, we need to take care of the other thing first, whether it be a lie about being worthy, about being deserving, pick your lie. But that lie acts as an invisible fence. And we won't walk toward what God can do, or we won't allow God the chance to work in us and change us in any way because of the invisible fence. Even when the collar's off, even when the thing don't work no more, that boundary will still be there if you've embraced the lie and learned to stay within the bounds of the lie. Get in the comments. Tell me if this makes sense to you. I think this was a perfect analogy. How many of you seen somebody set into an invisible boundary by a lie? They won't approach whatever it is, whatever blessing God has for them. They won't go there because they have embraced the lie. The lie about themselves, the lie about their situation, the lie about their relationship, whatever. How many of you have seen this analogy bear itself out? Where people just convince themselves that they're evil, they're shameful, they're disgraced, they're stained, they're sinful, they're broken, they're fallen, whatever. They convince themselves of that. And eventually Satan puts down a perimeter where he don't even have to try no more. I mean, he doesn't even take any effort because we've been trained. That's where the boundary is. That's why the phrase, "that's just how I am," is the most crappiest phrase in the English language, is because that's the phrase that keeps us inside the invisible boundary. That's the phrase that won't allow us to approach the transformation that God wants to make. We won't even entertain the idea because we have been trained to stay in our lane. We've been trained by that lie. And that's right, Val. Satan is a liar, and that's what he's trying to do. Or if he can get you trained to stay in the yard like the dog, Satan don't have to do anything anymore because you know better. You know better to be wandering over there, and that's that's a thing that's a place you don't want to be stuck. All right, he goes on to quote a few scriptures, including a scripture from 2 Corinthians 10 about our God-given power to demolish. Whoa, here's a phrase: demolish demonic strongholds. That's a lot of syllables, but we have been given that kind of power to demolish demonic strongholds. We have been empowered to do that, but if we don't do it, then why have the power? We're back to the ticket. We have the ticket for the free Frosted Animal Cracker Blizzard, but if we don't ever take it to Dairy Queen and redeem it, don't mean nothing. God's power to break these strongholds in our life, if we don't, utilize the power or allow God's Holy Spirit to lead us out of that place, it's an unredeemed coupon. It means nothing. And that's a lot. That's a lot to leave on the table. So don't be doing that. Okay, he comes into a section here now on page, where am I at here? Page 1. I'm still on page 128. He goes through a very long section of identifying some of these strongholds. Now, understand, I'm going to just quickly touch on all these. Understand that this list is by no means conclusive. This is not, the list of just these number of things and that's it. There's lots of examples out there of different things. Yes, Scott, that is an extremely dangerous mindset. People are convinced that they're in a works salvation, meaning I got to do so many good things to get in the door, and they're not good enough, or else they've convinced themselves they're already good enough and don't need anything else. And yeah, salvation becomes earned. And let me tell you something. You want to talk about something that will create shame? That's that one right there will do it. So, all right, I identified to admitting the problem. Let's see, 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. I got 8 here. I may have missed a couple, but here's the ones I identified that Craig comes up with. Some of these strongholds. The first one is caffeine. Got any caffeine addicts here in the crowd? You can identify yourself if you want. But caffeine's a pretty common one because it's a well-accepted one. Because my goodness gracious, there's a coffee shop every 2 miles across this entire nation. So caffeine is one. And again, it's about a boundary that you can't get by. If you got to have your 9 a.m. fix or your whatever. Again, as far as destructive behavior goes, I will certainly say that caffeine, you could definitely do worse, but it still could be a stronghold. I personally don't drink any caffeine. I don't drink pop. I don't drink coffee just because I don't care for it. It makes me sick. So I don't care about it. I had tonight. I treated myself. I had some orange juice with my supper, but mostly I'm drinking this stuff here. How God made it's good enough for me, but that's just me. And there's nothing wrong with loving coffee. I'm not getting on that, but caffeine is just one he identified as an example. And I have seen some people that if you get between them and their caffeine, that's on you. What happens to you is on you at that point. And that's tough. He also talked about doing smokeless tobacco, dipping snuff. I know that was kind of a big thing a few years ago. Thinking that can't be something to quit, or smoking cigarettes. Again, I know there are smokers out there, but I don't know if that's quite the problem it used to be. Gambling. I've talked to you a few times that I know myself, and I know that gambling that's a slippery slope for me. I know that, so I don't do it. So I stay far away from that one. And so gambling is one that can be. Lusting. I think that's an obvious one that people can fall into. Eating. I'm telling you, your appetite, your appetite for food, I should say, directs more of your life than you realize. And how often do you spend all day thinking about what you're going to have for supper, or somebody's going to come over? And, the whole time you're talking about what we're going to eat while we're here instead of, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. Just be aware of how much time eating takes up. And if you want to know how much time eating takes up, fast. Do a fast for whatever you want to do, and you'll find out exactly how much time you spend not worrying about, but thinking about and actually eating. That's one that can really get you. The next one is one that really hurts some of you: technology, including social media, email, Facebook, Twitter, text messages. Yeah, guilty as charged, right? I'm telling you, social media, I think, is far more evil than we give it credit for. I know everybody's always like, no, it's good. I follow my family. Yeah, that's right. But I also know what a time drain it is. And I only have one social media. Well, I have two, I guess, if you count YouTube. But I only get on there to watch commentary. So I have a social media account on YouTube. I also have an Instagram account. I follow exactly two people on it. One of them is the youth group here at church, and the other one is a friend of mine from Kenton. That's it. Two people. That's it. Social media is not the place for me because I used to have a Facebook page years and years ago. I deleted it because I got tired of finding out things about my beloved church members I didn't want to know from Facebook. There's so many times I was so tempted to write, your pastor follows you on this, right? And then I thought, I got to get out of here. So I left it. I never went back, and I have not missed it one single solitary time ever. And I don't ever intend to go back. The only reason I have an Instagram account is it lets me communicate with some of the kids. So I post out their church stuff. That's it. I have no desire. Like I said, I follow two people on it, and one of them is the youth group here from church. So, and is it? Oh my word! It's 9:00. Yeah. So yeah, what these behaviors can do. Let me wrap up here real quick. What these behaviors can do is cause you to become owned by them. They can own you instead of the other way around. Your appetite can own you. Smoking cigarettes can own you. Gambling can own you. Social media can own you instead of the other way around. Those are meant to be tools used by you to, feed your body, feed your mind, take care of things. That's what they are intended to do. However, if they take over, you're not the boss anymore, and those can fall into addictions really, really quickly. So, and he says right there, if you go on down on page 129, he says they remain locked in a prison that they're not even aware exists, just like the dog with the invisible fence. You can be locked in a prison that doesn't have any doors. That's what addiction can do. That's what shame can do, and that's why it's dangerous. Okay. I had a few more things I wanted to get to, but yeah, I think we've gotten through the first half of this chapter. I want to skip ahead to where we're going to go tomorrow. We're going to start tomorrow on page 133. There's a section called "Ask Yourself." There's 6 questions there that in the first part of this chapter that we're going to spend some time going over tomorrow night. And so all of you can take a chance and look at those. He calls these 6 questions the test to see if you have a problem, with whatever it is. And you may be kind of shocked at what you find out. So we'll go over this tomorrow night. So that's what we're going to start tomorrow night on page 133. The section he calls "Ask Yourself," and we'll work our way through the rest of the chapter there. So, all right, where are we at here? Oh, Deb, I definitely agree with you. Life is much better without technology, no doubt about it. Food is a tough one because we have to eat to live, so it's not something you can just quit. True. But processed carbohydrates and, as much as I hate to say this, frosted animal cracker blizzards from Dairy Queen are probably not things we have to have. But maybe an apple and a peanut butter sandwich would be okay. Social media can be dangerous, Amy. Yes, it can be and has been. Okay, Val, go get some sleep. Good night. Scott says he made a living feeding people for 10 years. Yeah, feeding people is a great industry, no doubt about it. And we've seen that illustrated very clearly through the COVID-19 shutdown. So, all right, everybody. All right, we're going to take 60 seconds. comments about the discussion tonight. I feel like I didn't get you, I did a bad job getting you guys to interact some tonight. I feel like I talked too much. Everybody jump in the comments. Tell me just some feedback from tonight. Because again, I can't read your faces, so I don't know how engaged you are. Jump in the comments. Tell me how we're doing tonight. How is everybody doing? You guys enjoying the study? I'm going to take a drink, so I'll shut up for a second. Thank you, Amy. I'd love it if you guys would all give this video a thumbs up before you go. It helps us with the search pages from YouTube. Helps people find us. Get that like count up. So, thanks, Dave and Amy. Appreciate you guys being there. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Val. Thanks, Tim. So, we've had over 30 of you here all night, so that's good. It is a hard topic to put to chat, Cheryl. That there's no doubt about that. Thanks, Joyce. You're welcome, Christina. I'm glad you got over there to try that from DQ, and it is wonderful. So thanks, Margie and Doug. Thanks, Jan. Yep. Thanks, Cheryl. Hope Jack's doing well too. Marsha's learning a lot. Good. Thanks, Mike and Tina. Good, Linda. Thanks. Thanks, Ange. Thanks, Deb. Good. Close to home. That's where we like to hit, Teresa. All right. Well, it will be on YouTube here in a few minutes. I will, Christina, I'll save it and it will show back up in about 5 minutes or so. So thanks, Sherry. Glad you guys time to reflect. All right. You're welcome, Crystal. Thanks for you and Bill being here. All right, everybody. Hey, appreciate you all being here. Thanks for sharing your evening with me. I just so honored that you guys chose to share your time tonight with me. I love you all very much. Hope everybody's doing well. And one final thing I want to let you know. I mentioned it last night. My friend Darren, his son with aneurysm, things are not going well. They've done some brain scans, and there's no brain activity on the right side at all. The left side is showing very, very little brain activity. The machine is breathing for him, and he, things are, it's not going well. They're right now giving him a chance to come off of all the sedation and see what he's able to do. See if he's able to breathe on his own. They don't think he'll be able to, and see if he has any gag reflex or, anything like that. And they're trying to find out what he's doing. Got a picture of him here. That's him. And things are not going well. And so be in prayer for the Cordray family. He's a sweet kid, soccer player, and just all that kind of stuff. And his mom and dad, as you can imagine, are absolutely devastated. And so they're able to get in to see him, and I was able to get in to see him on Friday. I drove down, and they're able to be in there, but they're kind of waiting for the sedation to come off so they can just find out where they're at, and they're not expecting anything. So unfortunately, this is something that they are concerned is hereditary. So they are definitely having their other son tested tomorrow just to make sure everything's okay up there and see if there's anything they need to do. So for God's sake, pray for that too. So, I don't know about funeral arrangements or anything or any of that. And I don't know how soon we're even going to get to that point, but the whole thing is just absolutely is terrible. So, after this with Shelby, basically he has the same problem that Shelby had, only she got hers from an accident. He got his from a birth defect, but the result is exactly the same. So that's kind of where they are. So keep the Cordrays in your prayers. They are the nicest people ever. And, I just feel awful about this. So, thank you all. Got some long days coming up this week again. And just keep all this in your prayers. Appreciate it. And all right, everybody, I'm going to, unless somebody else got something else insightful to say.
I appreciate you guys a lot. I appreciate these evenings. So love you all very much, guys. Y'all know what you need to go do now. Go wash them hands.